Welcome to this case study webinar with Stacy Dylan at Connecting to Cure. Really excited to, Stacy, spotlight your work and mission at Connecting to Cure. Quick context and background for those that are joining that may not be familiar with Match Nice. I want to just do a really quick flyby of the tech, and then we're going to focus very much on the humanity, the experience, the actual thing that makes it work, which is people. So we are social donation matching. It's a category that we're creating. Before we actually get in, can I offer something? Take a deep breath with me just for four, three, two, one, and sigh. I know you all are probably like transitioning from a bunch of meetings, so again, appreciate you joining. So Stacy, what is up? Do you want to just give a quick
Hey, it's
intro?
it's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to talk about our matching campaign that we did with you guys at the end of 2025. It was very successful.
Yes.
I am the co-founder and executive director of Connecting to Cure Crohn's and Colitis. Our mission is to connect and support the IBD community. Crohn's and colitis are the two inflammatory bowel diseases, and we fundraise for research. We provide support and resources for patients and also caregivers. We do a bunch of other things that we fund other IBD initiatives like Kids to Go to Camp with IBD in the summer and support underserved communities and families coping with IBD. The reason why I started this, I founded this organization with another mom. My son is going to be 26 actually next week, and he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when he was just 2 years old, which is, a little bit unusual. It's growing in that very young population, but he was diagnosed at that age. And so I've been in this IBD space for a long time. And we started our organization about 12 years ago to bring the community together. And like I said, raise more awareness, raise money, and just kind of try to meet the unmet needs that we saw in the community.
And it's been a marathon. I know we've got that running little bit between us that we
Yeah.
used in the communications to connect with your donors. We'll get into that shortly. But Stacy, thank you for joining. Thank you for the work that you do, and excited to for you to share some of the experiences that you've had with matching and beyond. So quick context, social matching, what is that? That's the category we're creating at Match Nice. So instead of like an employer, like I work at Delta, I donate to Habitat, Delta matches my donation. We're saying, hey, anyone can put up a match, whether it's a board member, a major donor, a mid-level donor, or crowdfunding from an everyday giver. And we make it really easy for people to actually put up a match. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into the tech and the matching banner from, like social proof and transparency. And this is what it would have looked like, Stacey, on your website, right? Like on your donation page, your donors got to see what that target was, the progress, the match multiple, what's left, the countdown, who the matchers were, and a gift counter to kind of gamify that giving. But again, I want to say that this isn't about the tech. This session is very much about the humanity of like tech is just tools, right? Like there's a lot of work that happens on the back end to make this type of solution successful. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And Stacy, we can talk a little bit more about your experience. So tell us about like the situation. So you had just had a Hallmark event that you have every year. Tell us about that event. And then like, I know when we connected, you were interested in doing some kind of year-end fundraising, but there was concern about donor fatigue post-event. It's obviously not super comfortable to ask for funds after you just had your greatest supporters in a room with you. So give us a little bit more context into the work that happened leading up to the event and then what it felt like after.
Sure. Well, yeah, our Rock the Night event is our signature event, and that's actually how we started. Like we started when we founded our charity, that was what we started with. We wanted to do an event. We really focused on raising money for research. And as I mentioned, we do a lot of other things which sort of organically just came about over the years as meeting other people in the IBD community and realizing that there was so much more that people needed. And also understanding that, it's not just about waiting around for the cure or new treatments. It's about people living their best lives with these diseases, which, I don't know if people are familiar with them, but they can be very debilitating and they really have an impact on people's quality of life. There's a very diverse way that they express themselves because since I've been in this space, they've discovered lots of genes and, of course, the microbiome, and it's very complex. So, what we wanted to do was just try to, instead of thinking about one day there's going to be a cure and we're just waiting around to that, just to have, people be supported while they're going through this journey, and especially caregivers. I mean, we have a lot of patients and we have a patients work group, but we also want to focus on caregivers. And so our Rock the Night event is our signature event. It's a fun event where we have music and, we do have a program where we talk about our charity and what we're doing, but we wanted it to be different than maybe a regular gala. We wanted people to be able to come and have a fun night out, hear music, and, just hang out with friends. And it's a community event too. It's not just a fundraiser. So it's for the IBD community. It's for our friends and family who really wanted to support us. And so we've been doing this event for 12 years. I mean, we took a little break during the pandemic, but we went back in person in 2024. And we used to do it more in the spring, but we've switched to doing it in the fall. So I, am always worrying about, I think many nonprofit leaders or founders, depending on your background and where you come from, it's like hard to keep, asking people for money or asking them to contribute. But I've completely changed my mindset about that, not only from doing this matching campaign, but just as a fundraiser all these years, because people really do want to support, and you're never going to get anywhere if you don't ask. And so I have completely done a turnaround and said, if people say no, they say no, for whatever it is. It could not just be money, it could be donating something for our events or in-kind donations. So when you guys approached us, we had talked about doing it at another time, but typically, I didn't really have a lot of nonprofit experience before I started this. So I've just been learning along the way and figuring out how to do things. And we didn't typically do like an end of year campaign, except for, during the pandemic. That's when we did that instead of doing a live event. And so I think it was after our event, which was on November 15th, it's, hard to then, there's like 6 weeks left before the end of the year. It's hard to like say, hey, now we're doing our annual campaign, which a lot of nonprofits do. So I have to say Match Nice was like extremely helpful in not only giving us the confidence to do this, but of course providing all the tools and materials. And like he showed before, the website, it was a very easy like process. So I would highly recommend doing it. And like Puya said, it was, I think, first of all, our event is in Los Angeles and we have a national, even some global reach. So people can't come to our event. And yes, people could donate to the event. But what I was surprised by with the matching campaign was people really, really wanted us to achieve the goal. And so, like, we would post on social media or send it in our newsletter, and we would get, even if someone donated $25 or $50, like everyone was really trying. And we got, I mean, we got new donors, we re-engaged some lapsed donors, which was really surprising. And, compared to like the year before or other years, we, obviously increased our donations and we were able to like make more money last year because of the matching campaign. And one of the things that another founding principle was to value all donors, not just major donors, because I find that a lot of, charities or big nonprofits, they're always talking about how to get the major donor. And I experienced before I started this, or even with other people who were involved in, fundraising for our cause, that they felt sort of dismissed if they were only giving a small amount. And we really want to value all donors or volunteers or anyone who contribute, because not everyone can give the $10,000. So I think that's really, really important. And I think the matching campaign also helped people feel valued, right? Because even if they only gave a small amount, they were helping us reach our goal. So I think it was really successful in terms of what our, founding ideas were, and also just like I said, helping us increase our end of year fundraising.
Stacy, thanks for that. I love your point about just the stewardship and the value that comes from any donation at any size. And that's like a big part of social matching is also giving that avenue for any type of matcher to come with. I'm really personally curious. You've done this event for many years before. Year-end appeals, as you shifted to the fall schedule, felt uncomfortable. Was there a degree of discomfort or hesitation or uncertainty that you felt with putting up your first match? I know it can feel like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You don't have that crystal ball to know what the engagement's going to be. So I'd love to just get a sense of your feelings like before we went live with the match.
Yeah, definitely. I think I felt uncomfortable. I think, like I said, in general, sometimes you feel uncomfortable asking people for money, but I was like, oh, well, we just did this event. People are like, oh, here they are again, asking for money. And, are we going to get there? And it's a little scary to put yourself out there. But one of the other things that I've learned, from doing this and also over the years is just to, try things. And we've talked about doing matching before and, never really successfully did it. And like I said, you guys made it very simple, like turnkey to do it. But I think that what I learned was, trying things, but also to trust other people. Like that's something I've really learned along the way. And like ask for help. Like you got trust that you guys know how to do this, right? And so you're giving me the confidence, you're giving us the confidence to do this. And I think that that's really important as a leader to be able to trust other companies, other platforms, other people, because you can't do it all. And I think and it really helps you feel more supported. So I think that's really important.
Oh, that like speaks to my soul too as a founder. I struggle with asking for help, so
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that and also placing the trust in us. Talk about how the match itself came together because based on the research that Match Dice has done, there's three top challenges that nonprofits have. The first, unsurprisingly, is finding a matcher. Like, how do I secure the match? The second piece is raising donor awareness, which I'd love to touch on as well. And then the third is what you just talked about, like the time, resources, and complexity of actually running a match. But talk about how you were able to secure that match and what that conversation was like.
Sure. I think I shared with you before that I think like most nonprofits, which this is a statistic that I just learned in the past few years, that most nonprofits do get most of their fundraising from major donors or family foundations. And obviously we get some corporate donors and grants, but, and that's all about relationships, right? So luckily, myself and our other board members and people in our community have built relationships and people who want to support us. And so, one of the things that is challenging is to have like sort of a donor plan and to engage donors. And, I think I was a little hesitant because normally I don't, people just donate to us. And yes, I have asked people for this or that, but when you said that, I was like, okay, who can I ask? Who can I ask? And, one of our donors who I know usually gives, and I, called her and I told her what we were doing, and she was amazing. I mean, she was like, absolutely. And if she had said no, I don't take it personally anymore. I would have been like, she doesn't have the funds this year, so move on to the next person. But she was very supportive. I explained to her what we were doing. I explained to her about our event and how, we wanted to do this matching campaign. And she was like, absolutely. And, and I think it's important to, some people don't want to be, they want to be anonymous, but, I think it's important to recognize people. And then also we did get another donation during the campaign that was sizable. So and you suggested, putting help, that could be part of the match and increasing the match, which we did. So that was another surprising thing that happened, right? So we didn't know that that was going to happen because again, I think it inspires people to want, hey, I want to contribute to this. I want them to be successful. So, and I think I just wanted to say one other thing is that another founding idea was, when you're dealing with especially with a sick child, right? Your friends and family often feel helpless, like they don't know what to do. And, yes, you can be in the hospital or you can be home and they can help do errands or bring food, but it's hard to, it's hard. And people always say, what can I do? What can I do? And it's like, well, you can't, do this surgery, or you can't, control how this outcome is going to be. But having our event, I think, really made people feel like they were supporting us. And of course they were. And it was the same with the matching campaign, is like, don't be afraid to ask people, because they really do. So they feel helpless and they want to help, and they really feel and then of course we appreciate it so much, and it's so appreciated, people engaging in that way. So I think that would be I say this all the time to myself and others, like, don't be afraid to ask, because you never know what's going to happen. I forgot what the second and third part of the question were,
No,
but
it's okay. We'll just take a moment to reflect on that. And like for me, matching is so much more than just the transaction. It's this sense of belonging and community, like the psychology of like it's the generosity is seated, right? Like we want to follow the kindness. It's contagious, and this match kind of proved that. And yeah, for context for those listening, we originally had Stacy a $5,000 match, and then you got a very sizable
yeah,
donation to meet that match. And we had this decision to make of do you ask that donor if you could exceed the goal and increase the match from 5,000 to 7,500, or do we just close this deal?
yeah,
And I suggested let's see what happens if we increase the matching goal, and then you did, and then we were able to meet that goal, which was awesome because it brought in an extra 5,000 for the organization. So if I share my screen real quick, I'll show some of those results that we got from our case study. So really cool to see that almost half of your donors, actually half of your donors were either first-time givers or hadn't given in the last 3 to 4 years to your organization. The second part of the question, Stacy, was it's one thing to secure a match and to get that. It's a whole nother thing to actually communicate it. And the second challenge being donor awareness. So tell us a little bit about how you went about the strategy of announcing the match. I know you mentioned social media, email. Like, what did you learn that worked? And like, there was definitely an uptick in donations every time you sent a piece of communications, but would love to hear your thoughts on what you learned from the communications side of the house.
well, I also wanted to say, I think there's a lot of synergy between what you said in terms of community, in terms of Match Nice, and your wanting to engage people and not just be about technology, and also what we do in terms of community. Because that if you ask me one word to describe our charity, I would say community. And so, and, going back to what you said in the beginning, you're never going to replace human contact with, especially when dealing with a chronic illness, especially parents or patients who need that connection. So I just wanted to say, I think that's really important. And I like that you said that in terms of what Match Nice does. Um, I think that in terms of the communication, definitely you guys were very supportive with, figuring out how to, just the language. We have a newsletter, and another thing was like, I'm always concerned about, are we sending too many emails? And so that also gave me confidence. Like, we sent probably a few more emails at the end of the year, because we were trying to reach this match, and we, posted on our social media, whatever, all the social medias that we have. And you guys were very helpful. And, I shared with you the story of Dana, who is my co-founder, and how we met and started this charity, which was through running. We were raising money for another organization that's focused on IBD, doing a half marathon. And neither of us had ever run a half marathon. And we both showed up to practice the first day, and we're like, why are we running? What, run 30 minutes? What, that's crazy. And anyway, so of course we ended up, training together, doing our long runs. And while we were doing that, we hatched this idea for the nonprofit. And I told you that, and then you use that as part of we use that as part of the communication, which I think is really important. So it kind of like brings the humanity and the story into it. I think having the banner on our website was really helpful for people who just went to our website and maybe didn't even know we were doing this. I just think hitting it in all the ways was really important. And I think Match Nice really helped us, think about that, think about the communication, think about where to try to engage people and how to do the communication throughout the period of the match. I also think like you guys recommended to have, I think it was like 2 weeks, the match period. I think that's really important to have a dead, a short period because that inspires people to just do it because you get something, you're like, oh, I'll do that later. But if you have this period of time, that's also really important. So that was really helpful also. So I think that was really part of our success was just the working together, collaborating with you guys on how to communicate it.
Yeah, and authenticity just wins when it comes to communications. I was just at a conference presenting around events, and one of the interesting stats that stood out to me was nonprofit storytelling. What actually creates the most engagement is when you're spotlighting the story of one. It's really hard for donors to relate to, there's this many thousands of people suffering from this thing and, this stat, that stat at the macro level. But when you actually bring it down to earth, we already know fundraising is all about relationships. So I commend you and the Connecting to Cure team for bringing that authenticity and for connecting with your donors in a very relatable way that doesn't feel like a transaction, right? Like you're actually uh, building that community. When you saw these results at the end of the campaign, how did that feel? Like, was this a surprise to you, or like what did you learn from this experience? I know you've shared a few points already, but would love to kind of hear the bow on the lessons learned.
I mean, I think I was definitely surprised. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect actually, but I definitely was surprised in terms of the lapsed donors and also first-time donors, and it also gave us like more confidence to then have a donor strategy, this year to reach out to some of our donors who haven't donated in a while. And it's not because, maybe it's just it just hasn't been top of mind. So it's like, I think that also, in terms of just in general our fundraising, I think this helped me sort of contextualize like how to manage donors or how to have a plan. So definitely, I think I was very surprised actually. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I was surprised that we reached the goal. I mean, I think I had some anxiety about that, but I think just the way that it worked out and people on Instagram who donated, if someone saw it on Instagram and they would just donate like $25 or $50, like that was incredible too. Because I think that people often see our stuff and they might not have the money and they're like, oh, I can do this. I can help them get there. So I think it really like I said before, I think it like is really important to value people and give them the opportunity to contribute in that way. So
Yeah, appreciate you
definitely
sharing that, Stacy. And for the folks that are still on, if you wanted to drop any questions for Stacy or I in the chat, please do so. We've just got about 5 minutes left and would love to take any questions that you have. And Stacy, like if you could go back to when we first started, is there like any piece of advice or like something that you would tell yourself before going into this? Anything that you might do differently or double down on?
I think, well, we'd love to do another campaign with you guys. I think that definitely I would have more, like the tools and just, confidence to do it. I think, like I said before, I think just the main, I mean, there was a lot of main points, but I think that one of them is don't be afraid to try something different. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to ask for support. Trust, not only trust other people, but trust, donors that they want to engage in this way. But I really think, the main takeaway is just about the community and people really having good hearts and you guys having a good heart and really wanting to support organizations and our community to support us. So I think that that's just really, matched with what our goals are in terms of our organization. And, like I said, just really being able to collaborate with other people in a positive way is always always really important, and just reminds me that we can't do everything ourselves, and it's really important to connect with others. So
Well, I echo that from our side at Match Nice. Like every client engagement that we have, we're very involved and want to learn what your needs and challenges are and appreciate your partnership in helping us also build some of those toolkits for other nonprofits. And one of the biggest questions that we get from nonprofits is like, how much should I put up as a match? And like, how long should that match be live? I know we for our campaign, we talked about 2 weeks for a $5,000 match that then transformed into a $7,500 match. For those that are listening, there's really no one size fits all for that. It really depends on the match amount and your donor base. So, Stacy, if you had come to me and said, "Hey, we want to do $1,000 match," I might have said, like, let's do this as a flash match, like 2 days, let's go.
yeah,
If you would have come to me and said, hey, we want to do a $25,000 match, I might have said, let's extend this for a month and kind of have the cadence around that. So, just wanted to emphasize the strategy that goes into this. And part of that strategy that we've built, Stacy, thanks to your experience and what we've learned from our partnership, is this ABC method of like align, right? Like we went through like what is the campaign, what are the outcomes that we're looking to drive, what is the amount, the match, creating that internal alignment before actually putting that match up. Build, obviously, like let's get that match secured and get the tool up on the website. But then the most important thing outside of that, of course, is like the communication, which you all did such a great job to drive new donors and re-engage lapsed donors. And what we're learning as well is that social media, even though it has a pretty low conversion rate in terms of donations, those donations are typically from people who have not given to your mission before.
yeah.
So we learned that from this case study, Stacey, is like there is still a lot of merit and power for doing that.
Yeah,
Before
and
we,
I just wanted to
yeah,
say also in terms of like figuring out what the match is. I mean, you guys were helpful with that, but I think it also you have to know your donors and your general, like what is the level of giving that you usually get. So it really is specific to each organization.
yeah, yeah. Well, in terms of slides, I'm going to wrap up just to say we do support organizations with building those case statements, securing the match, and then communication templates. Stacy, we've definitely taken this to another level based on our partnership and feedback. If you're interested in getting support or just getting a free case statement for us and imagining what matching could look like in your world, feel free to visit our website. Just go to matchnice.org, click get started, and then there's like 5 questions that you can answer, and our team will put together a case statement for you. Stacy, before we wrap, is there anything else that you wanted to part or share with our audience before we close this webinar?
I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for helping us, to launch this and during the process of doing it, you were super helpful, and I would recommend anybody who is thinking about doing this who've never done matching before. I think this is a great way to do it because, like I
Oh,
said before, just having the support was excellent.
oh, thanks, Stacy. Well, it is so fulfilling to be able to show up, wake up, and support mission-driven leaders like you every day. And your success is ours. And appreciate you taking the time to share your experience with everyone today. Look at that. We actually ended this webinar on time. Hope everyone has a blessed day and would love to offer just another deep breath as you transition to your next call. 4, 3, 2, exhale. Oh, have a
I
great
love
day,
that.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.